Joining us to talk about this second special session now is KVUE's Ashley Goudeau with our sister station there in Austin. She is an anchor and a managing editor of political content there and a great mind to tap into for what is happening in the legislature there. Ashley, so great to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
Okay, so let's talk about special session number 2. Lawmakers couldn't get this done. This was the biggest priority, I think, going into the regular session. It didn't get done by the end of the regular session. It didn't get done in the first special session. Do we have any idea if this is going to happen the second time around here?
Well, I wish I had a crystal ball that I could look into to give you the answer to that. Certainly, the state's top leaders think that they can reach an agreement. And what happened just today, Speaker of the House, Dave Phelan, and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick actually met in person today to talk about property tax relief. Now, they wouldn't say if they're any closer to a deal. The two chambers have very different ideas of how to give property tax relief to Texans. But at least we know both sides are talking this time around. That did not happen in the first special session.
Yeah, that is a significant piece of news, I think, that you're passing along to us here, Ashley, because, I think that most people think that, well, we've got the House and we've got the Senate there in Austin, and, they talk about this stuff, they negotiate. We're talking about the head of the House and the head of the Senate, too, both from the same party, both Republicans, but the word is that they've just been talking past each other in the media here because they sort of have competing plans on how to reduce property taxes.
They do have competing plans, and so let's talk a little bit about those plans, Jason. If you want, at the end of the first special session, and on the first day of the second special session, the Senate passed its plan, and they put even more money, $18 billion, towards property tax relief. And the way that they want to do that is by reducing the school maintenance and operations tax rate. They want to lower the percentage that districts can increase your taxes year over year without an election. The big thing is they want to give homeowners a increase in the homestead tax exemption, raise it to $100,000 from $40,000. They also want to give businesses, they want to double the franchise tax exemption. They say this gives a little bit to everybody. And sort of a big surprise in this second special session, there's also a provision to give teachers a one-time pay bonus. So this is a plan that gives a lot of people, it spreads the wealth out compared to the House plan that simply reduces the school maintenance and operations tax rate. Again, it would give people a lot of savings, but you would get some more savings, if you will, with the Senate plan.
Now, the interesting thing here, Ashley, is as we were going through the regular session and then the first session and now into the second session, as these two sides have been battling it out, homeowners, they have a right to be frustrated because the property taxes are high, but they might also be sitting there on the sidelines just sort of eating the popcorn and kind of enjoying this because it's almost been this escalatory game. Lawmakers have this unprecedented budget surplus, and every plan they come forward with, it seems like we're seeing more and more money being thrown in to reduce property taxes.
Well, and remember, Jason, they've got a lot of money to work with. They had a budget surplus of nearly $33 billion. And so we're talking about $18 billion potentially in the Senate plan, $17 billion in the House plan. I think people, though, don't really care about all of the drama between the lawmakers. I don't think homeowners really are that into, the minutia. They just know that they want the lawmakers in Austin to save them some money on their tax bills, and they want them to get it done now.
And I know there are at least some lawmakers, though, who are worried about overdoing it here because, yeah, you have a huge budget surplus this time around. Is it still going to be that way 2 years from now and 2 years after that? Are you still going to be able to keep on with this property tax reduction going forward?
So that is Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick's main sticking point and his main problem with Governor Abbott's tax plan. So Governor Greg Abbott has adopted the Texas Public Policy Foundation. That's a right-leaning, conservative-leaning think tank. And they want to eliminate the M&O tax rate altogether. They want the state to always pay for that. And that money goes to the day-to-day operations of running a school. They want the state to pay for that at all times, and they want the state to do that by using any budget surplus. The problem is we don't always have a budget surplus. In fact, it wasn't that long ago that Texas had a budget deficit and had to make cuts across the board. So if you are going to give the schools this much more money, billions of dollars more, to give taxpayers a break, you're going to have to do that every time the legislature comes together, and we just don't know what the economy holds.
Yeah, I remember some of those leaner years, and apparently some of these lawmakers do as well. It's going to be interesting to see if they can finally get this done. Ashley Goudeau, KVUE anchor and managing editor of political content, joining us from Austin this afternoon. Ashley, thanks as always for all the expertise.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Tonight, by the way, Ashley was on one of our recent episode of our Yolitics podcast. So speaking of that podcast, tonight at 8:30 on WFAA Plus, senior political reporter Jason Whiteley and I are diving deeper into the property tax battle. You can now watch Yolitics episodes on the WFAA YouTube channel as well, WFAA Plus and online too. So we're all over the place, worldwide, as they say.